I think oftentimes when people hear me and see me, they think that I'm a fool. They think that somehow or another I've lost my mind, that I'm not down with the in crowd. They've said that nobody would love me and that I'm an outcast. But let me say this here now. We can be clear about anything. Please let me be clear about this. And I pray that it's received and understood. I don't want to be one of you. I don't want to be one of you weak men, weak people.
For my brother,
I'd rather die. Death is welcome rather than to call myself you spineless black men.
Side high, I ain't your traditional. Rapper smoking medicinal, stayed in detention. Life is all about principle, cynical ass niggas. Sorry that I offended you. I bring something different while niggas sounding identical. I'd rather drown in a swimming pool than to let you imbecile stop me from topping my pinnacle. Try me rocked by the genitals, trust me, it's not intentional. It's the difference between a gangster and a criminal. Cause real gangsters can't do Breakfast Club interviews. A lot of you niggas don't own a business suit. A slave for every pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoe. But anywho, got your bitch walking around like she winning pool with no bottoms on, just the top of her swimming suit. What you gon' say when the niggas gon' try to get at you? Them in what army, or you just talking in general? Cause in the end, we all gon' die like them Seminoles, nigga. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up, these niggas weak. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up, these niggas weak.
I look at the sorry state of black men in America today, the destruction of the family, the loss of integrity. When as a young boy, black shot down every day for years without stopping, when I look at what we are as black people, I'd rather be dead than to continue to live against such.
Y'all ain't trying to start a revolution. Y'all looking for a restitution. Niggas kill each other every day and ain't no evolution. My partner shot 100 niggas and it was never proven. We just labeled him a gangster and kept it moving. Let me give you the same outcome, separate shooting. A white man kill a black, we holler persecution. So instead of looting, it's time to find some better schooling. You can act like y'all don't understand when I'm elocuting. Did I stutter? I was never Reuben. Y'all ain't no Black Panthers. You wasn't there with Newton. You ain't Martin Martin. Try to better humans. Instead of all these rappers, we need some better students. It's time to rebuild the neighborhoods that we helped to ruin. And the NAACP, y'all need some help recruiting. Fuck a resolution, let's get some retribution. I feel like Malcolm X when he left the movement. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up, these niggas weak. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up, these niggas weak. Y'all know what it is, yeah, I said it, nigga. All you niggas laying up with these bitches with no condoms and shit. Having mistake babies and shit, leaving these women to motherfucking raise your kids by their motherfucking self. Yeah, my nigga, I said it. You don't like what's going on in the motherfucking America, leave this motherfucker. When they said we were free, my nigga, that mean we were free to go back where the fuck we came from, my nigga. Yeah, it's a whole motherfucking continent that belong to us, nigga. It's called Africa, motherfucker. The fuck is y'all talking about? Y'all ain't trying to start no revolution. Y'all motherfuckers spent 10 bands on the motherfucking section in the motherfucking club. 10 bands to build a whole motherfucking neighborhood in Nigeria, nigga. Get the fuck out of here.
ETM Hotel, Rennie, Sean. Welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into Kofi Pie Side TV. I got Sister Juju and Brother Sue taking the building with us. Before we get going, please like the show, share the show, tell a friend. We're live. This is going to be a very educational and impactful program. We have with us Sister Juju live in the flesh. There's been a lot of sharing of, things. Well, let me just say there's been a lot of sharing regarding some recent events that has transpired, that has come to light for a lot of people. And in regard to Sister Juju, as of late, everyone knows who she is. She's a valuable entity and supporter of all the families. She's in every chat. She's purchasing books, shirts. She's Black Power down. She's at events. Everywhere that she possibly can physically be, she's there. Even in different situations that she's had to overcome over the last couple of years, as far as like with work and balance and things of that nature, and having to get things in order. There's a lot people don't really know. So before we actually get to Sister Juju, I do want to get to Brother Sutek to see if he has anything that he want to say before we let Sister Juju introduce herself and so forth.
Yeah, man. Peace to the family. We back at it again. We appreciate y'all for coming through to Kofi Passide TV once again. We here for Sister Juju. This is she is the occasion today, and we just want to let her know that we support her. So I'm gonna shut up and let y'all get into it. Like the show and share the show, man.
And I did pin the link, and I'll refer to that in a minute. But go ahead, Sister Juju. Who is Juju?
Hey fam, peace and Black African power. Favorite blackologist in the house. Yeah, I'm just pretty much a self-proclaimed Garveyite Pan-Africanist, someone who loves Black people to the fullest and wants to see us move forward, evolve, create agency, and really leaving a legacy behind for our children to stand firm on. That's what I do. That's just who I am.
All right. She kind of fell out a little bit, so because her phone was going in and out. So yeah, there she goes. She back. Pan Africanist and Garveyite.
Could you not
back.
hear me?
Yeah, you fell out.
Oh, what part did I fall out on?
That you was a Garveyite, Pan Africanist, and you look to support all Black people.
Okay, we'll just leave it there. We're not going to regurgitate everything, but that's just what I do. Hence the reason why I support, the platforms that the majority of you see me in, because they are about factual information and propelling and moving our people forward. So I don't want to be too long-winded.
All right, so you wanna Sutek watching the fight. You want to tell people how we got here?
Yeah, Jehudi, don't cry. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So people say that men aren't vulnerable, but the majority of the people who have felt the most for me and are the men. So, I think that's becoming a farce that we say our men are vulnerable and don't show their emotion. I just wanted to say that. I appreciate the love. Um, but we're going to cry for happy times too. Just know that. How we got here. How we got here. So, January 31st, being that I love my Black men, I'll do anything to protect them. I got involved in a situation that included some Black men and not a very positive one. And I got hit in the face really hard. Drove myself to the hospital to get stitches. The injury was so severe that Sean has actually seen pictures of the injury.
Yeah, I don't want nobody to see him though, unless you want them to see it.
No, I don't know. But anyway, hopefully y'all can hear me. I have to stand outside because I live with two men and it's just, they riding dirt bikes and they going crazy right now. But the injury was so severe that it was suggested that I have a CT on my head to make sure that I have any fractures. Once they did the CT, it was weird because the tech came out and asked me if I was having difficulty breathing. And I was very thrown back because I'm like, why is he asking me that? Later to find out that there was something abnormal in my left upper shoulder area, and it appeared to be some fluid in my upper left chest area. So I was ordered to do another CT. The CT revealed that my whole left chest cavity was filled with fluid to the point where my lung is kind of like pressed up in the corner, just like, basically when somebody said to me, like, just on a whim, wow, I'm surprised your lung didn't collapse, things like that. And people kept asking if I had difficulty breathing. I was like, nah, what does that look like? Maybe I don't know I'm having difficulty breathing. I just did yoga 2 days ago. That's, a 48-minute set. I got through it all the way, so I don't know what difficulty breathing means, maybe, because I don't ever want to be in a medical situation and also be stubborn or act like you know everything, because then people are less apt to be open with you. So usually I act very like open and welcoming and kind of dumb, like, well, or I'll ask questions. I won't act dumb, but I'll definitely ask questions like, what can difficulty breathing look like? Subtle signs, and ask those questions. They never said anything. They went back. Because they thought there was some other stuff going on with my situation, they were trying to keep me in the hospital. So I had doctors, a couple of police officers, and some other people come up to me, asking me things. I was asked if I was in a car wreck. Like, it was really weird. So once I explained that I was involved in a domestic situation with, some men, they were like, okay, that I should have never got myself in between. Then they were kind of relaxed, but they were concerned. So it was December 31st, which is New Year's Eve, that I drove myself to this hospital. People finna go party. I was told that I could stay. We can do tests on Monday, let you see somebody, figure out what's going on, or I could leave, set up my own appointments with my PCP, go about my business. No, I do have insurance now. No, a couple of times before I didn't, and I'll get back to the couple of times before, to the point of, I'm gonna put out there now, 2013 is when I was diagnosed with pleurisy. Sean knows about this because that's kind of interconnected. I didn't have insurance when that diagnosis was made, so no follow-up if people can kind of catch on, or I wasn't told to or whatever. So going back to the hospital stay, when they told me to stay or leave, I chose to stay. Being that I deal with scientific literacy channels, we trust the science. We also trust the fact that we're not going to walk in willful ignorance and be stubborn, because that's what I say is our problem. Willful ignorance, implicit biases, and things like that are the major concerns for Black people when getting treatment. So I try to avoid exercising or being part of any of those categories. Something said, just humble yourself. This is how the New Year's is going to be for you. Stay in this hospital, see what these people are talking about. Clearly, there's a concern. When the radiologist tech, first person who noticed, asked me if I had problems breathing, not even a doctor, I knew that something wasn't right about what he was seeing. So I stayed, waited till Monday, saw the oncologist. We started testing. Once he told me, I think there's something there. There's a spot on your lung. That scared the shit out of me. And since then, I humbled myself and took every test that I was supposed to figure out what was going on. That's just how we got here.
All right. Appreciate that. So what I want to do is I want to kind of let y'all in on what the science is saying. And I'm going to do that because you never know who else may be experiencing this and don't actually know what's going on. Now, on my side, me and Sister Juju, we had a conversation on like the 20th of January, I do believe, somewhere around the mid-January, late January. And she kind of like had an outburst, and I didn't know where it was coming from. until it was kind of explained a little bit later. And that's when, like, as she told you before, she showed me the picture of um her face, and it didn't look well at all. Um, and she kind of explained it to me. She also explained some other frustrations that actually mounted up toward that, and kind of got past that, and things proceeded in the direction that it is. So to be a distraction, I wouldn't talk. I don't try to talk about it, but I just like to send videos, see if she'll join and things of that nature. But ladies and gentlemen, when we wasn't seeing her, there was a reason why we wasn't seeing her specifically.
Right.
So what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm gonna do this in order. I'm gonna do this based on you being in the hospital and reaching out to me while you're sitting next to the nurse and they're going over your diagnosis with you.
Got it.
Which I could share that because it doesn't show you or anything like that. It's just basically explaining what it is. And you was like, fam, what the hell is this?
Right.
Pretty much. So when she asked me,
right.
here's where we go. It was 4 sources that I sent her to give us a general understanding of what it is that she could actually be diagnosed with. Now, in all fairness, when we look at this is not to say how she could have encountered this or anything like that. So we can't speculate. That's personal stuff, and we can't even get into that. I can't even get into that. That's between her and her doctors, right? But other people need to know this because there's ways that there's situations to where one could encounter. So this is malignant mesothelioma treatment, right? It's MMT. Go ahead.
Malignant mesothelioma.
There it is, malignant mesothelioma. Now, this is tricky. So there's some general information on this particular first source. And the key points are this. It is a disease in which the malignant cancer cells forms in the lining of your chest or abdomen. Now, being exposed to asbestos can affect the risk of malignment. Signs and symptoms of malignant, say it again, mesothelioma include shortness of breath, which they kept asking her, and pain under her rib cage, which is 2 things that they kept asking her. Requires tests to determine, and then certain factors affect the prognosis. So, as far as chance of recovery and treatment options. All right. So, what is it? It's a disease which malignant cancer cells are found in the pleural, the thin layer of the tissue that lies within the chest cavity and covers the lungs, or the peritoneum, which is the thin layer of tissue that lies near the abdomen and covers up the organs in the abdomen. This can also be in your heart or testicles, but it's rare, and this is the problem. This is rare. So here you're going to see areas of where this could be in parts of your body. All right. So you heard me mention earlier, exposure to asbestos could be a risk factor and one of the contributing ways. And then it talks more about the signs and symptoms. So trouble breathing, cough, pain under the rib cage, pain or swelling in the abdomen, lumps on the abdomen, constipation, problems with blood clots, weight loss for no reason, feeling tired. All of those are signs and indicators, right? It's going to require a physical exam and a chest x-ray, right? So this is pretty much what Juju had to do when she was in the hospital. All right, CT scan, biopsies, fine needle aspiration biopsy of the lung. They're doing all of that.
Yep.
Right.
I had The lung biopsy is what I had. It was a piece of cake, and I had 2/3 pieces. To me, those things were a piece of cake. So I'm okay. For people to understand me, I've never been sick in the hospital, broken bone, cavity. I've never been sick. I've never been sick. One thing I can do though is I can take needles. It's weird. I haven't been in the hospital much, but I can take needles. So all those things were like needles, and they numbed me up. I was good.
Gotcha. And thoracotomy,
Sorry.
peritonitis, huh? Oh, I thought you were saying to me. So there's a few other things that they actually had to do to test. Now,
Um.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Okay. So the prognosis and treatment options depend on the following: the stage of the cancer, the size of the tumor, whether the tumor can be removed completely by surgery, the amount of fluid in the chest and abdomen, the patient's age, patient's activity level, patient's general health, including lung or heart, the type of mesothelioma cells and how they look under a microscope, the number of white blood cells and the hemoglobin in the blood, whether the patient is a male or female, whether the cancer just been diagnosed or has reoccurred or come back. And then there's stages. And I believe she already had mentioned this, but I'm gonna say it again. Stage one, right?
Between 1 and 3.
One between 1 and 3 is when it was caught, so it's not a late stage 4, which is more severe. Um, and I think science has to do a better job of trying to narrow down the stage count since they give it stages. But then
Yeah.
there's other things that actually they have to do in there to test your body. So all of this information is present. So the next source pretty much states the same additional thing, and this is an actual article that speaks toward video assist thoracoscopic surgery in the management of mesothelioma. Now, because this when I pulled this initially, it was for understanding what can be done to resolve the issue immediately. And this article speaks to uh, the video surgery and how it works, what they do, the behaviors, what is the experience that one has to go through, all of those things to get an understanding. Because this is new to her, new to us, new to a lot of people, and it's a rare situation. So we need to know what is the surgical experience. So this article gives us the surgical experience. Here it tells us. All right, we know it's video and it goes through, so I don't want to read to you to death per se, in a sense. And then the symptoms, we already talked about the signs and the symptoms, but this just bags up pretty much everything else. The initial article is there, but you can't have one source. You need multiple sources, and then you need to disseminate if there's something different or something extra in between these sources, especially when it comes to symptoms, because that is significant. And then again, another source regarding the surgery. So there was two sources regarding surgery and two sources regarding symptoms related to the situation, just for us to get familiar with it and try to understand it as quickly as possible. So there's two surgical options and explained here: potential curative surgery and then palliative surgery. Both of these may be an option. You know what I mean? In this sense, and we'll elaborate. But before I even get into the two different surgery types, I don't know if you can even mention this or not, but did they even offer up surgery, or what was the treatment?
Oh yeah. Um. So, geez. Woo. Okay, sorry. I just get caught. The surgery thing freaks me out. Um. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So one of my symptoms, though, for people to know, is that in 2013 I was diagnosed with pleurisy. I again, doing what I do, I researched it to death. I could tell you in history who's had pleurisy and things of that nature. Mesothelioma came up in my research, but for me, I knew exactly what mesothelioma was, and for me, I discounted. I'm like, I ain't never been in the military. I didn't work factory jobs, I didn't think about other ways, but I was like, the most common ways that people get it, I didn't really do, as far as work wise. So, and I didn't think of other ways. So I kind of dismissed it. But the pain under my rib is something I always dealt with pleurisy. I always thought it was pleurisy. And if you look up pleurisy, pleurisy is a result of something else going on in your body. And for me, I always thought maybe I came across a virus or a bacteria that didn't manifest in a way that I was sickly, but pleurisy was a result because I do have a really good immune system. We know this. I've been exposed to tuberculosis. I know this, and different things like that. And nothing comes off of it. And the way I found out is I worked for the state, and when you have to do tuberculosis tests every so many years, that's what we found out. So I know my immune system is pretty damn dope. So I always thought the pleurisy was from that. Now we have to rethink that. The pleurisy could have been a sign then saying something was starting to brew. But that pain in my rib, I feel it all day, every day. Since the diagnosis, I feel it more because yes, I'm so focused on it, but it's something that it's workable. I can work through it. I can deal with it. So my situation, because it was early, it is pretty early, was very unique. And I think it's unique because one, every time I stepped in the scene, I did my best to be knowledgeable, did my best to act with a certain decorum that they understood that I understood what was going on, and that I was serious about my health. And that I also had supportive family and I don't even play with it. I let them know that I'm involved in scholarship groups who are autodidact, but who also are scientists. We have access to other doctors and things like that. So I let them know that the circle that I stand in is one that's also going to be vetting any information they give me, and we ready to go. I let them know that I'm not going to even play with it. Like once you start talking about my lungs and it may be cancer, I started having me think about my mortality and I want to live. So I'm going to do everything possible to make sure I get the best possible information to move forward. So in the event that these things started to come to fruition, the initial oncologist, and I'm so grateful, was like, I really want you to go to Moffitt. Moffitt is a cancer treatment here in Florida and Tampa that specializes with this specific type. And he wanted me to speak to a medical oncologist specialist and, perhaps a surgeon. I was scheduled to speak to the medical oncologist, but it wasn't in my network. So it took me like a week and a half to get that approval for my insurance, and bump it on. Mildred was going to pay it out of pocket. She didn't care. Like, we pretty much all we got left. So she's going to see me through. My insurance did approve it. I drove there, rented a car and drove to Tampa by myself. And I say that because at the end of the day, I did have the support. I had the support of Sean, on the other hand, on my first doctor's visits. And when I didn't have him, I had the support of Kelly and Bobby Banger. Like, let it be known, but this is pretty much my squad, as far as people that have been there from the beginning, who've known, who have been my support. So if I can't get one on the phone, I get the other. And the reason why I did utilize them is because they were also objective and wouldn't be so emotional, or maybe I was wrong, but because they think logically and critically. Me being just overwhelmed, it helps for people to clarify things for you. You know what I'm saying? When adversity is like right there in the face, and I'm just dumbfounded, because I was dumbfounded. Couldn't believe what these people kept telling me. Oh, you gotta do more tests. We see this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are y'all serious? Like, I'm fine. Just go away. Like, somebody gonna punk me, you know? And so when the initial test did come back, like my blood work, and my mammogram, I had all kind of stuff done. When all that came back, not cancerous, I was like, yay, okay, this is what we want to hear. The lung biopsy is the one that came back, oh no, you got something. So when I did go to Moffitt in Tampa, because I spoke to the medical oncologist, because for them, it's not like they get someone like me that walks in their office. And this is what I was told, young and healthy and fit. They don't get that. So also I was told, you're not considered the average, so don't get freaked out when you're reading this stuff and you see these averages, because you are not the average. You know, you can, or have a good chance of beating this really good. And what my sister told me is cancer doctors don't talk about cure or beating anything or throw those words out unless they really, 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 really think that that is definitely a possibility. Okay? She say they don't do it. She works for Beth Israel, Ben Franklin in Boston, some of the biggest medical facilities in the country. And she say they don't do that. So for my sister to hear that had her feeling really good about what was going on. And when I had the oncologist visit, he said the surgeon is here. We would like you to come back in a few hours, Ms. Zachary, and speak to him. Speaking with him, that's what I was told. They want me to do aggressive chemo, surgery, and maybe radiation. That was told to me from day one from the first oncologist also. That is the trek. If you look at the research that Sean's pulling up, somewhere in there, the trek for treating this type of pleural malignant mesothelioma is chemo, surgery, radiation. That's usually how it goes. The surgery is the intricate part, because it can be your lining, your diaphragm. The pleural cavity is like your diaphragm area around your lungs and your heart. So the lining would be everything, including your diaphragm. Sometimes it's part of your lung, sometimes it's your whole affected lung. The research on mesothelioma is it's so obscure. So even if they say, oh, we're just see this part, we're just going to take this part because that's where we see. Once they get in there, it could have like sprouted underneath tissue and spread everywhere. So a lot of times they really don't know until they get in there. PET scans and whatnot only show so much. So we're 95% sure it has not metastasized anywhere else but where it's at. But I won't know that 100% until I do a lymph node biopsy. And I haven't had one yet. But so far, I'm good. So Sean was with me like on March 24th. That's when I got the diagnosis and when I text him. And that diagnosis was before I had a PET scan and my pulmonary function test. So it told me I had this, but it didn't tell me much more. PET scans of pulmonary function. Pulmonary function tells me how I'm doing with this now. With this now, my lung capacity is 60%. So in reality and perspective, as the surgeon told me, if I have to take a lung, you'll only be at 10 more percent, minus 10% capacity now than what I'm doing now. If that makes sense for y'all. And I'm walking around talking, by the way. Not breathing too hard, but, you know.
All right, so what I want to do right now is I want to show y'all the video if you can stomach it. I will say for all viewers, if you ain't got a stomach, do not watch this. Just listen and don't say nothing. But this is pretty much one of the treatments, well, surgical treatments, I should say, or remedies. And it gets a little nasty, but I'm showing y'all what I show her. So here we go.
All right, this is an extrapleural pneumonectomy for mesothelioma. A right extended posterolateral thoracotomy incision is performed, and the prior incision is incorporated into the thoracotomy. The latissimus muscle is divided using electrocautery, and the serratus muscle is divided as well. The sixth rib is removed, and the extrapleural dissection is performed. Several ribs below and several ribs above are dissected extrapleurally to facilitate the placement of two Finichetto retractors. Superiorly, the dissection is taken to the subclavian vessels and the superior vena cava. However, this is difficult to show in this video. Once the lateral portion is dissected, the diaphragm is then dissected off the anterior portion of the chest wall using electric cautery, and the underlying peritoneum is dissected using a sponge stick. The liver can be seen below the peritoneum. Using electric cautery, the pericardium is entered, and the diaphragm is removed circumferentially, maintaining the integrity of the pleural envelope. The right atrium can be seen beating within the pericardial space. The pericardium is then dissected superiorly using electric cautery. Care is taken not to injure the superior vena cava below, and the dissection is carried superiorly to the takeoff of the azygous vein. The right mainstem bronchus and pulmonary artery can be seen here. Dissection of the level 10 and level 4 lymph nodes can help facilitate transection of the pulmonary artery as well. Once this has been cleared, the right main pulmonary artery is encircled using a Harkin clamp, and a red rubber catheter is placed behind the artery to facilitate placement of a stapler for subsequent transection of the artery. And here the artery is transected with a stapler. Then the superior pulmonary vein is encircled and is transected with the stapler. This will provide exposure of the inferior pulmonary vein. A red rubber catheter is again used to facilitate placement of the stapler. With large bulky tumors, this anatomy may be distorted, and it is very important to identify the four venous structures on the right: the superior vena cava, superior pulmonary vein, inferior pulmonary vein, and the inferior vena cava prior to transection of any of the structures. Now you can see the superior and inferior pulmonary veins have been transected. Now below the diaphragm, the inferior phrenic vein is identified and clipped. Avulsion of this vein from the inferior vena cava can result in profuse hemorrhage, and therefore it is important to identify it and transect it prior to proceeding with the dissection. Once that vein has been transected, the crus of the diaphragm is dissected, care is taken to identify the esophagus, and then the posterior pericardium is taken superiorly until the bronchus is identified. Then the bronchus is encircled and transected using a TA30 stapling device. After the bronchus is transected using a knife, the specimen is delivered from the chest. The specimen can be seen with the pleura, diaphragm intact, and the tumor in the middle of this area. A pericardial fat pad is placed on the bronchial stump. Here the fat pad is placed medial to the vena cava. On other occasions, the fat pad may be placed lateral to the vena cava. The argon beam electrocoagulator is then used to obtain hemostasis. Several stase sutures are placed here in the posterior pericardium, and then a Gore-Tex patch is placed in a running fashion to the inferior edge of the pericardium. Then approximately 6 to 8 sutures are placed circumferentially around the ribs to anchor the diaphragmatic patch in place.
I know y'all like this the longest 8 minutes of my life.
That was a lot. That is a lot.
Patch is fashioned to fit the lower portion of the hemithorax. Then using the stase sutures, the posterior portion of the pericardium is sutured to a Dexon mesh to prevent cardiac herniation. This is performed in a continuous fashion, both anteriorly and posteriorly, and inferiorly, this is sutured to the Gore-Tex patch. Please note that the Dexon mesh is already fenestrated. However, if Gore-Tex is used for the pericardial reconstruction, fenestration must be performed to prevent cardiac tamponade. Here, the Dexon mesh is seen completely covering the heart. The diaphragm is keeping the intestinal contents within the belly, and the pericardial fat pad is secured on the bronchial stump. A chest tube is placed, and the incisions closed in the usual fashion.
All right, so that's the gist of what the surgical process would be in the instance if that is one of the ways to go ultimately to resolve this issue. It's the video in the background. I'm like, what in the hell? But yeah, that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. The severity of the situation is just that. And so I don't know who started it, and I just know why it was started. And we need to make sure that whatever it is that you can possibly give, that we support our sister in this thing. Like I said, $5, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. You know what I'm saying? All is welcome. All is welcome. And Juju said that's a lot. So that's it. Now, I can tell you this right now. What they condensed to down to a 7-minute video is approximately a couple of hours. It's even longer if you try to talk about prepping and all of that stuff. And then this is not something that you're just going to
This is
outpatient surgery.
This considered major surgery. Every time they talk about it to me, it is classified as major surgery. I've already been told when surgery ensues that I will probably be out for at least a month, and I will need a caregiver.
Because you can't get up.
No.
Yeah, it's in your chest area.
Yes.
And very sensitive. It's a very sensitive surgery to heal from.
Extremely. And the fact that is like your diaphragm area, you have different small muscle group contractions. I think athletes understand this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
especially me being a swimmer and being very aware of my upper body strength and small muscle groups and things like that. Like, I think that's why it freaks me out. But that's what it is. That's what I've been told. So, yeah, I'm probably not mentally ready for surgery, though it probably would be in my near future. I'm working on that. This helps. But so I have a appointment Tuesday, and that's probably when we will schedule my chemo treatments, and then that's when we move forward. The chemo is the first step. So yeah, December 31st, all this started, and here we are. Um, yeah, but I also don't. There's no sense of waiting. So
Mm-hmm.
you know what you're dealing with. We're gonna go ahead and face it while I have the best possible chance for best possible outcome. That is what we're doing here. Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. And this is where we are today. So when you see everybody circulating a link to support Sister Juju, is because people respect her enough and appreciate her enough to know that this isn't one of those situations that we often see in our community. This is a very delicate circumstance that we need to try to get in front of and do our best to show our support for her, as this is going to be something that is beyond life changing.
Yeah. I laugh to keep from crying because I wake up every day and be like, wow, really? This is how I wanted to get attention.
Yeah.
I could have found a better way to go about it. Seriously, I'm jokes. That's joke, but yeah, this is what it is. I appreciate you, Sean. Thank you. You know I love you to the
No
ends of the
problem.
earth.
No
So
problem at all.
you already know. Listen, so just a funny joke. So I used to tell people like Sean was my handler, and then somebody was like, handler's like your pimp. I'm like, well, he damn sure my pimp. Maybe I need to find another word. I mean, like, no, he was like, my first tutor, my first teacher, like coming on this side of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was just funny. And I'm like, nah, he, he ain't my pimp. I don't think was Shawanda like that. No. So, but people can understand the history. Like, yeah, me and Sean go way back. So, yeah, that's just love and loyalty there, um, like no other, and that's just what it is. So, you know, no other explanation needed. Thank you,
No,
Maduna,
no problem. You're
Ghana,
welcome.
Dua, and all those African dialects.
Nah, you welcome. You welcome. So yeah, man. That's what we are, ladies and gentlemen, and that's as far as we can tell you. So you just want to make sure. I want to make sure that everybody out there supports. She needs your support right there, and and we know enough people to be able to actually do something uh, that will actually get us to the goal. Everything is about the goal right now. Whatever she's facing, we still got to work toward trying to get to the goal. Because if it was you in that situation, and I'm not trying to play the reverse game, but yeah, anyone in that situation would need support and help, and it's our job to stand on the stuff that we teach and practice what we preach, and that is coming together to support a sister or brother in arms, and that's what the hell we gonna do. So um I ain't gonna hold everybody up, you know what I mean? We were just on earlier. Please share this show. The link and all the source information is in the description of the video. The link to the GoFundMe is pinned in the comment thread, but it is also in the description of the video. So please share the show, get informed, ladies and gentlemen, get checked out. Those of you who are feeling some type of way,
Yeah.
your health is wealth.
Yep.
And go ahead.
Yeah, definitely get checked out. Your health is wealth. You're your own best advocate, you know. Um, and sometimes it's hard to accept what's going on, but you have to make the best and right decisions. And that's what I've tried to do throughout this whole, I don't want to call it, or it's a life experience. Throughout this whole life experience, I've been trying to make the best possible decisions, critically and logically. Yeah.
What you got, Sutek?
Sutek is burning some shatter right now.
Right, something. Oh, he eating. We caught him with the food in his mouth.
So another thing I want to reiterate though, because people are like, oh, that's what y'all give her smoking. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing in the literature, any research, whatever, from my understanding, from what I've read, will ever connect mesothelioma to any type of smoking. It's not in my lung; it's on the outside. And I only said that'd be funny because, you know, I have some uppity family members, yeah, that were talking to my aunt, Christian folk, and they were asking that question. Did it come from smoking? And I was like, Aunt Mildred, you make sure you tell them it ain't got nothing to do with no smoking. And I want you to say it just like that. So we be funny with it. But my Aunt Mildred, she quick to cut them down though and let them know that it has nothing to do with smoking. And that's not to say that I go on and just smoke cigarettes. I barely smoke anything tobacco related. I still participate in the microdosing of cannabis sativa, which has been said okayed by my surgeons, or excuse me, the surgeons that I've spoken to. They're not my surgeons, but the surgeons that I've spoken to, the medical oncologists, none of them have a problem with me partaking in medicinal marijuana. So I just want to say that, let that be known. Okay. It helps with my nerves.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, and this is where we are, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I wish I could make it go viral as well. For all of you who have alternate social media streams, share it to, Instagram, Twitter, um, TikTok, whatever the hell, I don't know. Share it, man. Let's try to get people informed. There's a learning lesson inside of all of this, and we need to make sure that we extract that lesson and we learn from it, and we try to stay ahead of the game, and because most people won't be so lucky in their diagnosis and may catch it late. So we want to do our part to make sure that we are being progressive and trying to remain upright. And you know what I mean? Especially with people you care about. You got people that care about you. You care about people. You want to make sure that you're doing your part in all of that. So I do want to say I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Juju coming on and expressing. I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. You know what I mean? So Shimim Hotep to everybody. I don't know who else is going to be live to entertain us the rest of the day, but Sean's tapped out for now. Tomorrow we will be back on this channel. We will be getting into Franz Fanon, and we're going to deal with the first chapter of a book. I think it's already advertised everywhere which book. I ain't gonna tell nobody on here if you don't know, because if you don't know, we want you to tap in so that you can know. All right. So thank everybody for tuning in, man. Like the show, share the show, get informed, and stay upright. Peace.
I think oftentimes when people hear me and see me, they think that I'm a fool. They think that somehow or another I've lost my mind, that I'm not down with the in crowd. They've said that nobody would love me and that I'm an outcast. But let me say this here now. We can be clear about anything. Please let me be clear about this. And I pray that it's received and understood. I don't want to be one of you be one of you weak men, weak
This
people.
for my brother,
I'd rather
Kendrick
die. Death is welcome, rather than to call myself you spineless black men.
Side high, I ain't your traditional. Rapper smoking medicinal, stayed in detention. Life is all about principles, cynical ass niggas. Sorry that I offended you. I bring something different while niggas sounding identical. I'd rather drown in a swimming pool than to let you imbeciles stop me from topping my pinnacle. Try me blocked by the genitals. Trust me, it's not intentional. It's the difference between a gangster and a criminal. Cause real gangsters can't do Breakfast Club interviews. A lot of you niggas don't own a business suit. A slave for every pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoe. But anywho, got your bitch walking around like she winning pool with no bottoms on, just the top of her swimming suit. What you gon' say when the niggas gon' try to get at you? Them in what army, or you just talking in general? Cause in the end, we all gon' die like them Seminoles, nigga. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up. These niggas weak. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up. These niggas weak.
When I look at the sorry state of black men in America today, the destruction of the family, the loss of integrity. When as a young boy, black shot down every day for years without stopping, when I look at what we are as black people, I'd rather be dead than to continue to live against such.
Y'all ain't trying to start a revolution. Y'all looking for a restitution. Niggas kill each other every day and ain't no evolution. My partner shot 100 niggas and it was never proven. We just labeled him a gangster and kept it moving. Let me give you the same outcome, separate shooting. A white man kill a black, we holler persecution. So instead of looting, it's time to find some better schooling. You can act like y'all don't understand when I'm elocuting. Did I stutter? I was never Reuben. Y'all ain't no Black Panthers. You wasn't there with Newton. You ain't Marshall Martin. Try to better humans. Instead of all these rappers, we need some better students. It's time to rebuild the neighborhoods that we helped to ruin. And the NAACP, y'all need some help recruiting. Fuck a resolution. Let's get some retribution. I feel like Malcolm X when he left the movement. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up. These niggas weak. These niggas weak. I'm fucking up. These niggas weak. Yeah. Y'all know what it is. Yeah, I said it, nigga. All you niggas laying up with these bitches with no condoms and shit. Having mistake babies and shit, leaving these women to motherfucking raise your kids by their motherfucking self. Yeah, my nigga, I said it. You don't like what's going on in the motherfucking America? Leave this motherfucker. When they said we were free, my nigga, that mean we were free to go back where the fuck we came from, my nigga. Yeah, it's a whole motherfucking continent that belong to us, nigga. It's called Africa, motherfucker. What the fuck is y'all talking about? Y'all ain't trying to start no revolution. Y'all motherfuckers spent 10 bands on the motherfucking section in the motherfucking club. 10 bands to build a whole motherfucking neighborhood in Nigeria, nigga. Get the fuck out of here.